Okay, yes. So we may just have a few other folks wandering into the Zoom room in the next few minutes. Kristen, are you able to admit those when they come in? Okay, thank you. Oh, okay. I'm gonna admit that person. Thanks so much for joining us today, and I just want to acknowledge that we're gathering on Zoom on the unceded territory of the Sanchothan and Hulkaminam speaking people here in the Coast Salish lands and waters. I'm grateful to see some of you I haven't seen in a little while, even though it's not in person. And just want to welcome everyone to connect with us at the office at any time following this info session if you'd like more personalized support or questions. And if you can't stay for all of it, we are going to be recording, so you can always check out the recording later. And yeah, so we won't do a round of intros, although many of us might know one another or may not. We can just wave hello. Great to see all of you today. And today we're just going to be talking about our new our new capacity grants at the foundation, which we're very excited to be bringing to you. This is in response to last year's work connecting with community organizations and really finding out where the needs and opportunities lie. From every single group, we really heard that there is a need for operating funding on this island and in our community. So we're showing up for that in this pilot. It's a pilot, meaning we're going to be paying careful attention at the foundation, which we always do anyway, but we're going to be paying careful attention to how things roll out. We really appreciate your feedback on process and on accessibility of this program. And it is a pilot, so it's not a lot of dollars, and we're hoping that we'll be able to watch it over the next couple of years. So it's multi-year grants. They could also be single-year grants that are more than 25,000 per year and less, or 50,000 or less. So between 25 and 50. So if your funding need is less than 25,000, then the goal would be to look at some of our other funding opportunities. And if your funding need really shows up as 25,000 to 50,000
okay.
a year, thanks for muting, Howard. Nice to see you.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're really looking to fit that niche of 25 to 50,000 a year that could really make a difference in your organization. And I'm going to be showing a few slides shortly about some of the parameters that maybe you've read about in the guidebook that we have available online. And then we're going to follow with some questions, question and answer, and hopefully be all wrapped up within 45 to 50 minutes or so today. If you need to go at any time, just know that you can connect with us. Kristen, do you want to wave? Kristen's on the call here. Kristen is our grants administrator for this program, and she's in the office and available Monday to Thursday, 9 to 3. So we can set up a call for you with her or with me to have your further questions answered. Okay, and I also would like to acknowledge and thank our Capacity Grants Committee. Some members are on the call today, and so we have a new review committee for this pilot program. And it's a committee that is tasked with working closely with the board to be looking at the criteria for assessment that you do see in the guidebook. And it's as you'll see, a multi-stage process that is aimed to make it quite straightforward and accessible for groups to apply, and that we're narrowing before there's a lot of time investment on your part to those that are most qualified to get the pilot grants. Okay, so I'm going to just start my PowerPoint here and then share my screen. Kristen, I'm not seeing, do you see share screen? Did you take host from me? I'm not seeing share screen.
No, I'm just co-host.
Oh, I see it now. Okay. I just had to go to a sub menu. And okay, it says final. I think I'm in the right place. So I'll just Now start the slideshow if I can. No, I'm not seeing my slideshow button. Sorry, I can see a lot of you, but I can't see where I start my slideshow. Okay, I'm moving the screen over here. There we go. Now I see it. Okay. All right. Okay, I think I got it. Thumbs up from somebody if you see you actually see the wrong slide, but
We're seeing the presenter version.
oh,
Chat.
okay. I'm not sure that I'll be able to switch that at this stage, but let me try it this way. Just moving my windows around. Don't know if that would it. How's that?
No, there's nothing showing now.
Hmm. Oh, I think I got it. I think I got it. Yes.
Yes, got it.
Okay. Thanks for bearing with me there. Okay. I also don't have my mouse at home, so I'm all right. So capacity grants. Now I need to have a way to forward the slide. Okay. So as I already said, they're operating grants and they're between 25 to 50,000 per year for 1, 2, or 3 years. You can make the request for 1 or 2 or 3 years. They're meeting the need for unrestricted funding in our community. They can be used for salaries and staff wages, for rent, for administration, equipment, travel or supplies related to direct service in the community of your organization, or education and training for leaders and staff of the organization. Really what it can't be used for is as a big capital grant for the organization. It's not intended to be that, but generally could be used to keep the lights on, could be used for what you need to be able to deliver your primary services in the community. Which organizations are eligible? Registered charities are eligible, and other qualified donees such as First Nations band councils. If you don't know if you're a qualified donee under the Income Tax Act, then you can connect with us and we can help you figure that out. If you're a registered charity in partnership with a non-registered charity that has the same charitable purposes in the community, lots of alignment between your missions, then you may apply as a team. It's the registered charity that needs to apply. And that secondary organization would be called the intermediary. So those partnerships are eligible for these grants as well. Again, the charitable purposes need to be eligible under the program, and they need to be aligned so that both organizations are really geared to be carrying out and serving those needs in the community, rather than one organization for arts and another organization for social services and support, for example. Which organizations are not eligible to apply? If you're a current recipient of the opportunity grants that the foundation had last year as a one-time program through the Community Prosperity Fund, which was provincial funding, as well as some donor advised fund support. If you hold one of those, then you're not eligible for this program because essentially it's quite similar. And if you're an intermediary that is holding that opportunity grant funding partnered with a registered charity, then also you wouldn't be eligible to receive a capacity grant partnered with that charity or another one. So we're just trying to really make some equality happen over these next few years so that the operating funding is not simply going to the same organizations at the same time. Okay, I'm just going to keep going, Kristen, and hope you let people into the room because I now can't see everybody on the call. So the foundation thought deeply about how to make this program in its pilot phase equitable and also be serving priority needs in the community and opportunities that exist. And so there were 2 tiers created out of the various what we call vital signs areas. So if you're familiar with the vital signs report that the foundation does, we've been doing that every 5 years, and the next report will be coming out in 2027. We're starting the work on it next year in 2026. you'll be familiar with some of these categories. These are also our granting categories for our community grants program. So what we've done is put them into 2 tiers. What it simply means is if your organization is applying to this program and submitting an expression of interest, and you know that your primary service is in tier 1 in the community, then you will very most likely move to the second phase of the process, into the interview steps in September. If you're in tier 2, there's a possibility that you will get to interviews, but it will really just depend how many requests we have in tier 1. So the tier 1 categories are housing affordability, a big crisis in the community, and something that, if your organization is working on that, is a vital priority in the community. Health services, mental health and addictions, food security, and economic supports for poverty relief and or social services and inclusion in the community. So that really covers a lot of equity deserving needs, and I'm going to be reviewing in a minute how the foundation is defining equity deserving groups. Below in tier 2 here, you'll see that if your organization primarily serves environmental climate preparedness needs, land water protection, conservation, those as well as reconciliation and inclusion, education and safety, community infrastructure and transportation, those are all in the tier 2 for this pilot program. Doesn't mean they will always be, and they are, of course, important needs that we want to acknowledge. We did need to make some sort of criteria. The equity deserving sort of definition that we're using, there are many out there. We're going with this one: those experiencing systemic barriers due to their identity, leading to unequal access to opportunities and resources such as oppression and or marginalization. So if your group is in tier 1 in its services and it's got a demographic reach that includes serving groups that are equity deserving for race, age, gender, sexual orientation, religious affiliation, national origin, ethnicity, disability, including physical appearance, invisible and visible disabilities, socioeconomic status, or education. Very broad. It could also be an identity that's not listed here that is an equity deserving group in the community, specifically neurodiversity, for example. And so that would be something that we would love to see in your expression of interest, as well as in the later stages of the process, if you can be able to demonstrate that to us, how those equity deserving groups are being served. So the next little step of our discussion today is how to apply. The expression of interest is the first step. It's quite straightforward, and I'll walk us through the questions in a few minutes. You just need to submit that by September 4th. If you haven't submitted in our online system yet, we have a new one that started last fall, then you can connect with Kristen if you have any troubles, but just follow the prompts as you click the button online to apply. Click to apply. And once you've submitted that expression of interest on behalf of your organization, then we will get back to you following September 4th, soon following September 4th, to invite you to an interview. The first interviews will be on September 15th, so there is a little bit of a break in there for our committee to meet and consider where we're at and review the expressions of interest. So then the next step, if you're invited to the interview step, is going to be an interview for approximately 20 minutes between 15th and 18th of September. It will be scheduled by Kristen in our office, and that will primarily have to meet the needs of our committee first. And so there won't be a lot of different times, but there will be times each of those days that we hope to be able to schedule everyone who has an interview in. This is the first time we've ever done this, and so we're really hopeful that it's going to be a lovely process to break down some of those barriers that can happen in applying and in writing grant proposals. So then past the interview step, we will be selecting those most meritorious based on the criteria that you can already see in the guidebook and based on the assessment of the committee, which represents different sectors in the community. And if your group is selected, you will be invited to submit a full application by October 9th. Now, you can already see the full application if you go online. And so, and you can already see the criteria for assessment for those full application questions if you've read through the guidebook. It's you got to keep going. It's a long guidebook. So we just invite you to become familiar with that in the sort of the meantime, so that it's not a lot of hard work in a short period of time at the end of September there, but somewhere between, September 20th, 21st, and the end of the month, we'll be inviting those full applications. So you'll have maybe a week to 10 days to prepare it. So we do suggest that, while you're in the interview phase, you might want to begin to prepare that application. If you don't, hopefully there's no upfront resource input before the interview phase, because if you don't get an interview, then we don't want people to spend time on that full application. So the goal is to really make this accessible, but also time saver for all the very busy organizations out there. So here's just a close look at those important dates. So again, right now, the expressions of interest are already open. They close September 4th. On the 15th, we'll begin interviews, but you will hear from us the week prior when we'd hope to see a representative or two from your organization for an interview. We're not looking for more than 2 per organization. It would just be a little bit too long of a discussion. So ideally, it's teams of 1 or 2 into the interview, and those can be done by Zoom or in person. We hope that our full committee will be in person, but we also have to make it accessible to our committee members who are busy working other places in the community. And so we may be doing hybrid meetings for those interviews in our foundation boardroom. And then, like I said, September, I think I said 21st, but 22nd, you'll know by the 22nd if you're invited to fill out a full, and then the full applications are due October 9th. And because our board meets on the 27th of October, we'll do our very best to let you know on October 28th. So that's the timeline. And then the expression of interest itself, you've probably already looked at it. It's very brief. It's intended to be brief so that it's not a lot of work. And yet it really tells us whether you fit tier 1 or tier 2, and how much you need and how long you're looking for that need to be met. What I would say is, if there's a way to tell us how the funding request will help to address the principal community need, as well as how you're already funding that, and if you're not funding that, that this is new, that would be good to let us know in that 4th point there. And if you're funding it and your funding source is going away, it would be also great to let us know that, even at this expression of interest phase. So it's very few words. But again, we're really hopeful that this will just really help us to assign those interviews to the tier 1 requesters, and that we'll get at much more in the interview phase, and the interviews will be recorded as well. Any questions? I'm going to stop the sharing so that I can see everybody. Okay, so if you have a question or a comment, you can raise your hand or use the hand icon. I'm not seeing any. Am I missing? I'm actually not sure if I'm seeing everybody, but it looks like we've lost some people from the call already, but that's okay. Or some people just aren't on their video. No questions. No questions. We were really clear. We got it all in there. Andrea, you look like you're at the beach.
I think Pam has one.
Pam.
Oh, thank you, Pam. I didn't see you out there. What's your question?
All right. John can't, he's using the computer. I can't control it. I just wanted to ask if the PowerPoint that you just showed would be available for us to review.
We can do that. We can pop out the PowerPoint onto the Capacity Grants web page.
Right. Thank you.
Any others? Howard, hi.
Well, I joined this already thinking I knew the answer to it, which is it sounds like our organization really won't qualify. We're not in a tier 1 or tier 2.
You are in tier 2 under education, Howard. So the arts.
Yeah, I looked at that as a possibility of a square peg round hole moment, because I'm not really sure. I mean, our mission doesn't purely state education as a primary activity.
And I got that question. So I think actually that's good feedback. We can add that to the webpage to clarify that in the Canada Revenue Agency main charitable, if you look up what is charitable activity, they actually put arts and recreation under education. So that's why we hoped that folks would know that that was inclusive of arts and recreation, but we can make that explicit on the webpage.
Yeah, in talking to my colleagues in this sector, there's a sense that, okay, not for us moment.
Okay,
Uh,
thank you. We will clarify that.
Okay, so you're
It still might be that we get a lot of tier one.
no, I understand that. I'm relegated to back of the bus moment, but
I feel
it's
like,
disappointing.
Shannon,
It's,
I feel
it's
like too, unless you could make a strong argument for arts and mental wellness, right?
well, we do, but
Yeah.
it's you know as it relates to. I don't want to take up space here, but
No, it's okay.
I'm disappointed to be really clear, to be very clear with you about that. So. Mhm.
I think you might be able to understand though, Howard, if you put yourself in the so we don't have 10 of these grants to give out. We have a couple of these grants each year for 3 years, and that's a really slim number. So we had to make some criteria. So we looked at to our vital signs for guidance, and it just wasn't the top of the needs. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I read your vital signs differently, but that's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I did see another hand. Sorry, first I saw Ralph's hand, and then we'll go to Andrea Little. Oh, Ralph, you're muted. If you want to just click on your mute, your audio.
There we go. Okay. Hi. Just to clarify in terms of ongoing programs or trying to reinvigorate programs, I got the feeling that there was a potential for reinvigorating a program that might be languishing because we don't have the funds of our own to go ahead with it. And then I also did gather through the explanation that there would be that, because this would be working with another group or other groups, we have to decide where our energy levels are. And just to tell you that I'm not Ralph Bischoff, the only guy here. I'm actually Ralph Bischoff for Salt Spring Island United Church. So I'm here in that capacity today. And then is Howard still on? No, but anyway, but again, we have 2 arts groups that we have been. Hi, Howard. We have 2 arts groups that we have been working with in the past. One that could come up with subsidized rentals and things like that, but another that would be a total venture to go into again. And I'm just hoping that if we go through the process, that a failed venture doesn't negate a potential future venture.
I mean, I don't know how to address that other than I think the criteria are around the ability of the organization to carry out to use the funds in the way that they're asking. So I would think that the United Church has a good track record with that. And even if the venture wasn't successful in the past, that doesn't necessarily reflect poorly on the organization. That being said, it is an operating grant. So it's really about, meeting those principal or primary
No, I gotcha.
needs in the community. Yeah.
No, I got you. If you do make your presentation available so that I can share that at our next meeting, which is next Monday, that'll help immensely as well.
So we'll have the presentation and the recording up as soon as we can after today's call.
Super. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ralph. Andrea Little, not Andrea Palfrey.
Hi, thanks. This isn't really a question, but it's more just a comment that I think I did read through the handbook and your presentation. It's been very good, and I found it very, very clear. So I just want to thank you for that. And also, I just really appreciate that it is aligning with your vital signs in the way it is, because I have always looked forward to reading the vital signs. I think it's a really important document. So to see something coming from that, I think is really great. So, and the fact that you've included invisible disabilities as well as disabilities, I think is really also great.
Yeah, we really appreciate all feedback, constructive feedback, and positive feedback. So really appreciate that, Andrea. Also, Howard, look forward to more conversations where you might offer constructive feedback if you have more. And I'll just also say vital signs has been a lot on my mind this year because we're going to be bringing that into our operating plan next year. We don't just get data given to us from Stats Canada. A lot of communities do have that. We have to do quite a lot of work on Salt Spring as a community to find out where our vital statistics sit. And so my intention this coming round is to be providing more of a grade, if you like, for the categories and comparing them to the last vital signs in a clear way that's going to be able to help the community to understand how we're doing in that area. Because it is true, Howard, what you say, almost everybody reading that vital signs might say, oh, there's a lot of work to do in this category. And it's true, there's always work to do in the categories, but some of the categories we really have a lot of work to do. So the foundation board has not necessarily published something that says these are the priority categories until now with this guidebook. This is what the foundation board is focusing on for this pilot. I think I did see another hand. Was it you, Aletha? No? Any other questions at this time?
I think Rebecca Martin, did you have your hand up? And also Anil, I feel like I saw your hand at one point. But no pressure if they had a question.
I was just going to say
Oh.
that Rebecca did ask a question in the chat. In case people did not see the chat, she was just asking where the interview questions were, and they're in the guidebook.
Yes, they're there in one of the appendices. Have fun looking through. It's all there. It was hard to make it any shorter than that because we wanted to transparently make sure that it was there and there wasn't going to be anything that you didn't know up front. Doesn't mean there won't be conversation in the interview if there's still time, but we're going to ask those questions. Yeah. Thanks, Anil. I didn't see the chat. Jessica.
I'm just wondering if you can answer the question of how much money is actually available for the community for this grant, like the total amount?
Yeah, so at this time, we can't say that. We know what the board is putting in, and we're hopeful that some of our donor advised fund advisors, or at least one, might be interested in also allocating some of their annual amount to some of the requests or our request. So it's approximately 100,000 and up per year. So it's not a lot, but it could be four requests at 25,000 a year, you know? It's just hard to know how that will pan out. And I guess I also would say on that note that if you have other funding sources, or if you can think of it as this is really a pilot and step your request back a bit so that it's, you know, maybe making room for others, that would be good. Yeah.
And just another, if it's okay if I ask just a quick other question.
Sure.
If our organization is sort of more like, from the outside is sort of more aligned with perhaps tier 2, but actually the work we're doing is actually impacting most tier 1, would we be like, what might be the best way for us to categorize ourselves in tier 1, even though technically in the vital signs as a restorative justice organization, people might assume that we're tier 2 based on security or safety?
I mean, I think to mention that in the EOI, and maybe just say there isn't space here to go into it, but that you could evidence that in an interview, that would be the way I would do it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, looks like we might, wow, half an hour. That's not very long. Does anyone have another question or comment or curiosity or want to join a committee? Howard. Oh, you're still mute, Howard.
Since we have a few more moments, I'm curious at what you're starting to build as measurements of success.
Yeah, so again, we're tightly aligned with those criteria, hoping to measure the impact areas. So of course, there won't be much we can measure until the end of the first year. And then going into that second year of this pilot, that will be our next vital signs publication year as well. So we're really hoping that as part of that work that we're staying in close communication with the group that's received the operating grant. It's similar to the opportunity grants as well. We're hoping to stay really closely connected with those folks because again, these are larger local dollars going towards needs that may have been funded in other ways or may have been gapped for the last several years. So it's really the criteria, Howard, as far as I know them at this point, and they're not board approved at this time, but are going to be focused around those vital signs, demonstration of the vital signs priority areas being met or being addressed in either vigorous ways, ongoing ways that are, the board has used the words transformational quite a lot around these grants. And so I think the goal is that the capacity of organizations is getting a boost that's larger than a community grant, and that we would love to be able to reflect that back to the community. And it's going to inform ongoing operating grants. Oh, and I completely forgot to mention, you might have seen it on the landing page, or you might not have. The foundation is also introducing operating requests in its regular funding programs. So this is not the only way to get an operating grant, but it is a larger one. So if you're not successful this time round in capacity grants, you can apply next spring in the community grants program or in the Indigenous Priorities Grants program if you're an Indigenous serving organization and Indigenous led or co-led. And I can't say yet what the cap is going to be per request, but that's going to be less than 25,000. And we will be announcing those with guidebooks for each program this fall, so sooner than next spring, so that organizations have lots of time to adjust to that. So you can make a program request or an operating request in the community grants program now and the youth grants program in 2026. Is that?
And will that have a multi-year aspect to it as well?
No, it will not. Yeah, and community foundations do find it difficult to do multi-year because, of course, we have a disbursement quota that's maybe even different than many other charities in the sense that we manage a large endowment. And so as the markets change, and we have to put out a certain amount of that, so to overcommit our sort of discretionary funding is not a good idea, because we need to adjust our own operations and our own everything around the investment earnings, which are not in our control.
But the capacity grants are potentially a multi-year
That's
grant, right? And
yes.
so if someone is to receive if an organization is to receive a 3-year, multi-year commitment from you, what do you envision the year-to-year reporting to look like?
Oh, that's a great question. So it's really just an interim report. You could almost think of it as, let's say you get 25,000 a year for 3 years, that you're completing the 25,000 from the first year, telling us where you're at, and then we're releasing the next. And I mean, the only reason that it wouldn't be okay to release the next chunk for year 2 or year 3 would be if you haven't been able to spend the funding in the way that you said you would. And I would imagine there would be closer conversation throughout the year if that was the case. So I think it's really just a, thumbs up, we're doing the work, and thank you for the grant, and we're ready for the next amount.
Yeah, I can easily write a thumbs up emoji for you there.
It will be a little interim report in our software.
Thank you.
Onerous. Yeah.
Thanks.
Alan.
Yeah, Howard, I get what you're driving at in your questions. This is a work in progress. This is the first year that it's happening, so it's going to be kind of figuring out what exactly are the hurdles, the conditions, what is success, what is how it all works. So it's going to be a developmental progress for everybody.
And like I said, we're, especially staff and board, we really want your feedback. Please don't hesitate to have a meeting with us. We can hold confidentiality, and we really want to know the positive and the challenging. Okay. Rebecca, go ahead.
My question's about the tier categories. So there's 4 in tier 1, but some of them are like 2. Number 2 is health services, mental health, and addiction. Are you looking at those like as a unit, or like, so I'm here in like with 2, sitting in 2 seats as a staff at Salt Spring Seniors and as a volunteer with Restorative Justice. So I'm thinking about in both of those. So for us at Seniors, We're focused, I think we fall under the mental health as like mental well-being of like the work that we do here. But we're not offering health services specifically, or we would like to be if we get the funds to make it happen. And we're not necessarily like overtly doing any work with addictions, although it may come up in some of our other kind of.
Yeah, great question. We were trying to lump a bit together so we didn't have an extensively long, so we thought that's kind of a category if you're offering health services or work with folks with addictions and around mental wellness, or just around mental wellness, neurodiversity, that all of that is within there. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And likewise, number 4, the economic supports, poverty relief, social services. Like I think we're doing work in that area too, but not specifically all, or not like collectively all of those things.
That's right. It doesn't have to be collective. And so when you tell us in the EOI what your primary or principal operating area is, as long as it's in one of the tier 1 areas or one of the tier 2 areas, then that's where we'll place it. And you get a chance to also tell us if it's tier 1 or tier 2. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Maybe we're winding down a little bit. Any other questions or comments or needs to express?
Shannon, I just wanted to jump in and say you may want to clarify as well around like stipulations or limitations around if folks do get a capacity grant, can they still apply for community grants, and just those boundaries?
That's a good question. So at this point in time, we're saying whether you hold, so you can't hold both an opportunity grant and a capacity grant. However, you can hold either an opportunity grant or a capacity grant. Both of those are multi-year, and one other type of grant at the foundation that's a program grant. You can't hold 2 operating grants at the same time, but if you make a program grant request in 2026 or 2027 and you're still holding a capacity grant, that's okay. If you're an organization that's partnering with an intermediary, you can also do that. You can also apply for yourself as operating if you're not the operating hold, if you're working with an intermediary who is operating in a capacity grant, if that makes sense. So let's give an example. So you're the Farmland Trust, so you're a registered charity, and you're going to apply with an intermediary, like Neighbors Helping Neighbors, I think that's what they're called, who aren't a charity. Maybe they get the capacity grant and they're doing it for their operating, but you as the Farmland Trust didn't get a capacity grant, then you could apply in the community grants for operating funds. That was just a totally hypothetical example. Any questions around that? Partnerships and how many grants you can hold at one time? And again, call our office if you have questions, if you want to best situate your organization and you don't want to, you want to make sure that you can apply in community grants, for example. I will also say that community grants, at least for now, will have more dollars per year to put out than capacity grants. At some point in the future, maybe the foundation will grow to a point where it's putting out more in these larger capacity grants per year. But at this point, it's community grants still has a larger dollar budget per year. And we're hoping that all of them will grow. The more we spend, the more the tree grows. That's the motto. Good seeds going everywhere. Okay, so yeah, I think I'll wrap the call for now and just thank everybody for showing up. It's always good to be in conversation and hear what other people think and what other questions folks have. We will put this recording onto the website. We'll also put up the slide deck that I showed as a PDF that you can share with your boards or your committees or your other partnership potentials. And please connect with us Monday to Thursday, 9 to 3, if you have other specific questions prior to September 4th. And we look forward to seeing many of your EOIs and seeing you in September for an interview. Okay, thanks so much. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Nice to see you all.
Thanks very much.
And Kristen, if you can stay on, we were going to have a chat. We'll stop.